too, but someone seemed to have picked up since it was not displaying as a missed call. Could it have been me? Or... The last thing I remember, I was looking at Victoria.
Sup?
Once again, I woke up in the...
I'm watching Scary...
crew that kept, like, sending people messages and breaking down their console with the amount of messages coming in.
What?
There's a crew of, like, people with the name that begin with Bomber, and they were sending repeated messages saying so many messages at once, it lagged the crap out of everyone's consoles. And they had to call the PlayStation customer service to get the account banned and blocked for everything.
No, I just got on, like, 30 minutes ago.
Okay, well, you're lucky. It happened an hour ago. I'm gonna mute my mic. Just tell me whenever you're gonna get on, like, Neverwinter or something.
Okay.
Morning with no idea what happened, except this time my girlfriend was nowhere to be. I was laying on the floor next to the bed, and my phone was smashed on the other side of the room. Most of Victoria's belongings were gone too. I went on Facebook and got a buddy of mine to come over. I told him what happened, and we called the cops. They combed the place over and couldn't find anything. I asked them if we could file a missing persons report for Victoria, and they told me no, since it seemed like she just packed up and left. They got kind of suspicious of me at this point, and I felt like they thought I beat her or something. I went on her Facebook to see if she had updated it, and sure enough, she had. Her relationship status was set to single. She had defriended me, and her last status said, "Oh, how sweet is he? How sweet he tastes." I didn't know what to do. My body stayed over for a few days.
You want me to turn it up?
Yeah.
Down to one friend.
Okay.
I was a mess, but I began to recover good stuff. I even sent her a text every few days to see if I could get an explanation. No response. I wondered if she was okay, and I checked her Facebook often enough to know she was. That was until last week when her privacy settings changed, and I could no longer view her profile. Later that day, I got a text from her. "We will finish the job." I replied with, "What the fuck?" "Soon, you will know him as I do." "Are you insane? What the fuck is going on?" "I know what you've read. I know what you know. You left the door open when you took out the trash today. He doesn't miss a good opportunity. There are places in my old home that you will never think to check, and now you will belong to him, as I do." I didn't respond. I didn't do anything but nuke the fuck out of there. I drove to my buddy's house and crashed there. I've been there since. I texted her back later with, "You're a fucking joke. Fuck you." No response on her end. I am now in the process of attaining a license to buy a gun. My life is falling apart, but I keep pretending it isn't. The last text from Victoria I got was yesterday. "Orange," she said. And I texted back with, "What?" A minute later I realized I was wearing an orange shirt. My heart raced. It had to be a weird coincidence. My phone buzzed, and the noise made me jump out of my chair. I read her reply. "Soon."
Which you are you? Be the you who doesn't cover your
Fuck you, YouTube ads.
psoriasis. Be the...
For those of you just tuning in, about a month ago, I found some really disturbing journals on my girlfriend's computer.
Okay.
After tons of crazy stuff happened, I moved into my friend's house temporarily and began receiving really messed up texts from her. So, last time we talked Reddit, my girlfriend was sending me some disturbing texts that were by all means on the verge of harassment. The last text she sent me had me on my toes the last few days, but she hadn't sent anything since then. I don't know if that's better or worse. My updates are sporadic and far apart, mostly because I'm not a fan of updates with no substance. So, this time I waited until I had enough information to come back to you guys with. I took the advice you guys gave me to heart. No, I did not contact the police again because her text didn't continue. However, some of you mentioned stalking her back. I do know where she works and goes to school, so I started there. I called up a mutual friend of ours who has class with her and asked him to hang out. We met up and I told him everything. He was blown away and didn't seem to believe me until I showed him the text, my post on Reddit, and the police report from before. He told me he hasn't seen her in the last several classes. Our college classes go twice per week, so she hadn't been attending in at least a month. I had no idea what her work schedule was, since she'd work random hours. I called in and asked if she was there, and they said she wasn't. Well, stalking her was out of the picture. Another idea you guys came up with revolved around her ex-boyfriend, the one she cheated on me with. This is where the bulk of my investigation has been taking place, since I have found out some really odd things about him. First off, when Victoria broke it off with him after their affair, he flipped out. He cursed the two of us out and went into solitude. After a little while, he moved out of state and posted some weird Facebook updates. I don't remember where they were, but they were pretty off-putting. A little while after that, he deactivated his account, and we hadn't heard from him since. Naturally, I'm assuming that he's back in town, although that doesn't explain the violence, the creepy journals, and Victoria's behavior. He was a very angry guy with a lot of issues, but he wasn't very physically confrontational. I began asking around. I asked all the people that knew him about what happened to him. For the sake of using less pronouns but retaining a level of anonymity, we will call him Charles. I learned more about what happened to him after he moved away. He stayed in touch with his pals for a few months, and the ones I talked to agreed that he was off his rocker. He would constantly talk about Victoria. Someone visited him, and then the rumors began. I heard about how he had photos of Victoria, most of which were compromising, all over his bedroom walls. They said his apartment smelled like rotten food, and that his bathroom floors were stained with dried urine. Most people dropped all contact with him, and those who didn't were simply sad for the guy. Charles eventually deactivated his account as well as his phone. No one heard from him again. Is he back now? I have no idea. I'm still staying with my buddy in his house, but tomorrow night will be the first time I am home alone here. I'm terrified, to say the least. It's not even Charles that scares me, or the idea of losing the person I love so much. Folks, I remembered a very odd detail from the night I was attacked by the person in the hoodie. I mentioned stabbing his arm with a broken glass. What I completely forgot about until now was his hand. It had a ring on it, a huge class ring. Charles wore his high school class ring everywhere he went. However, it's not that this is throwing me off. The reason I noticed the ring that night was because of the finger it was on. It wasn't a finger after his pinky. It was on a sixth finger. When I last left you all, I mentioned spending my first night alone since I moved out of my apartment and into my friend's place. My friend, Rachel, and her roommate, Jim, were going out to the movies that night. I'm pretty sure it was a date. It always seems like they have some kind of friends with benefits thing going on. I was prepared for the worst, but it was fairly uneventful. I stayed up, locked the doors, did the classic paranoid routines one would expect. Rick told me that they'd be home by midnight, but midnight rolled around, and I was still alone. I was terrified. I lay on the couch staring wide-eyed at the ceiling. Every sound was a bullet to my heart. Every vibration was a knife to my gut. I have no idea how long it took me to fall asleep that night, but eventually I did. It was past noon when I had awoken. I wandered around the house and immediately sensed something was amiss. Reagan and Jim were gone. My first thought was that they had shacked up somewhere for the night. Then I found a post-it note on the fridge, a note that did not belong to me, Jim, or Reagan, or anyone of a sane mind. How did I know? Attached to the note, on a string threaded through it, was a finger. It was a finger with Charles's class ring on it. I inspected the handwriting, and it was hardly legible. But what really stood out from the mix of scribbles and letters was a very clear, "We have them, and soon we will have you." I rushed out of the kitchen and into the bedroom where my phone was charging. Only my phone was not there. I flipped every pillow, blanket, rug. It was gone. I ran back into the kitchen. The note was gone. The finger was gone. And on the counter was my phone. I I turned it on and I saw I had a new text, and it was from an unknown number. This is what it said. Contact the police and they die. Contact their family and they die. We are watching. They are ours. Soon you will be too. Suffice to say, I didn't listen. I called the cops right then and there. I explained what happened and talked to the sergeant. He explained to me that the text was not definitive of anything, but it didn't sound like anything they could look into. Once again, I had no proof there was a problem. Reagan and Jim are adults, so I could not report them missing. Not after less than 1 day. The note was gone too. I couldn't even give the cops permission to search the house because I didn't own it. I went back to Reagan's place that night. Where else could I go? I figured if Victoria and whatever the fuck she's involved with really did everything they seem to have, then I would be dead if they wanted me dead anyway by now. I checked my phone every half an hour for new messages. At midnight, my perseverance was rewarded. A completely innocent text from Victoria's number. Well, the content was innocent. You guys can be the judge. Hey babe, what's up? I didn't reply. Instead, I got ready for a nice, very overdue shower. Then, another text. Babe, can I come to your place? Suddenly, my phone exploded with one text after the other. Please, can I come over? Please, honey, I promise I will be good. You can't hide from me forever, sweetie. Don't ignore me like this. I was done with this and ready to hop in the shower. For a brief second I thought this was all just one big practical joke. In desperation our minds can often resort to the illogical. I got undressed and couldn't resist. I checked my phone one more time. One new text arrived. Fine Alex, then suffer. I hate to end my update here. A lot more has changed since then, but I spent the last 3 hours gathering my memories and putting this on virtual paper. I have a very important task to complete tomorrow, and I'd like to be well rested. Know this. The events that followed still transpire to this day, and hopefully my next update will be sooner rather than later. I did end up showering that night, by the way. I felt like I was being watched the whole time. In hindsight, I probably was. It's funny how we remember things after the fact, when we really sit down to recollect what happened. In Reagan's shower, located in her basement, is a window. The window was at street level. Anyone walking on the sidewalk could see it. They couldn't see inside though, it was a blurred window. However, it could be opened from the inside, and I think I now know why it was such a chilling shower. I think I know why I kept feeling a cool breeze every few seconds. When we last talked, I was staying at the home of two of my friends, Reagan and Jim. Reagan and Jim went missing, along with my girlfriend Victoria. I had no idea where any of them were, and my only contact with them for the following week was a few creepy texts sent from my girlfriend. I knew they were kidnapped. I knew they must have been going through hell. The person that did this to me let me know very clearly that if I tried to contact authorities, they would be dead. They were not playing games. The note I found with a severed finger attached to it was a proof of that. So, here we are, a week after the disappearance of my friends, and a few weeks after the disappearance of Victoria, my girlfriend. I had more or less given up on life. I quit my job and was living off of my savings in a house that was not even mine. It wasn't hard, even with only a few $1,000s to my name. Reagan and Jim had a ton of stuff I could use. The best part is that I didn't need to pay rent. I would spend my days playing video games and browsing Reddit, and I would spend my nights drinking heavily and fantasizing about ways that I could rescue the people I loved. It wasn't until 2 weeks later that I finally got hit with reality. It was midnight and I was buzzed and watching a terrible movie on TV. I heard a car pull up outside of the driveway. I thought nothing of it, and I kept watching that terrible movie. Then I heard a muffled scream. Shit. I remembered that I had a fucking psychopath stalking me. I got up slowly, trying to use my ears to figure out what was going on outside. I heard footsteps, somewhat heavy, another muffled scream and a grunt, and a few seconds of silence. Finally, a knock on the door that made me figuratively shit my pants. I just stood there like an idiot, waiting for something to happen. And minute or two went by, and then I heard the car speed off. I didn't know what to do, so I checked outside the window. Nothing. I looked into the peephole in the door and saw